As part of our Celebrating Pride series, we're getting political this morning. We want to highlight two members of the Washington State Legislature. State Senator Jamie Pedersen was elected Senate Majority Leader last year, joining House Speaker Laurie Jinkins to make Washington the first state in the country to have two LGBTQ+ legislative leaders serving at the same time. Steve is down in the ARC Lounge with Senator Pedersen and Representative Jinkins. Steve, this is so great.
It is, and thank you both for coming in. I'm glad we could make this happen this morning to sort of put a spotlight on this. And we were just chatting during the commercial break. When you two realized that this was a thing, that both of you were serving and becoming, having this milestone and putting Washington State on the map, when did you guys realize that this had happened or this was a thing?
I did not realize it. I think Senator Pedersen's staff might have realized it when he was elected the majority leader in the Senate. And somehow in that first week, somebody sent me a note about it, and that's when I realized that we were the first in the nation.
What does that mean to you? I mean, does it, with all of your backgrounds and everything that you both have worked on over the decades, what does it mean to you to put Washington on the map in this specific way?
I mean, well, I think, for me, Senator Pedersen and I have a lot of overlaps where we've done a lot of work together. For me, always when you're in a position of being first, I was the first woman elected speaker,
yes.
First lesbian
yes.
speaker. The most important thing is that there are young people and young adults and adults out there who think that this is something they can't ever see themselves doing it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that when you break that glass ceiling, having people who can start to see themselves in these roles is really, really important. It becomes a more inclusive place. And that's, I think, what makes me proud about it.
What about for you, Senator?
I think that we're in a moment in our country's history when a lot of people feel very much under siege, particularly LGBTQ people, and vulnerable, worried about what the future is going to bring. And so it is a sign of hope, both for people who live here and I think around the country, that not all is lost, that there is a different future that awaits us if we can wait out the next 3.5 years.
Yeah. How does being part of the LGBTQ community impact the issues that you try to focus on in your respective roles in the legislature? What impact does that have, if any?
I don't know. I think a lot of the issues that folks in our community face are the same issues that everyone else faces. We want good schools and need housing. People want good jobs and want to feel safe in their communities. So I think there's a lot of overlap with what everyone else is experiencing. That said, I think that the experience of having grown up in a community that was disfavored, targeted, mm-hmm. Helps bring some empathy for us to the struggles that people are facing, particularly in a moment like this, if you're thinking about what it means to be an immigrant right now, for example.
Yeah. Certainly.
Yeah, and I really agree with that, and would just echo that the House Democratic Caucus is more diverse than we've ever been in the history of the state. And that helps us, and being in this role I think, being an out LGBTQ person, I have some sense of what it's like to be excluded. Mm-hmm. And so making sure that our tables for decision making are more diverse and bringing more diverse voices in terms of solving problems. And what's great about that is the more diverse the table is, sometimes the conversations can be really complex and challenging, but we're always including more Washingtonians in the solutions that we bring because there's more diverse voices around the table. Yeah. And I think that's a place that I come from that's similar to a lot of folks.
In what we're seeing across the country, what message do you have for young people in particular who are seeing some of the attacks on the LGBTQ community, or what is perceived as going back on the progression that has made, and they're losing hope? What do you say to those young people that are feeling discouraged as they watch all this unfold across the country?
For me, it's that nothing in politics is permanent. Nothing. So this rollback isn't permanent. unless we let it be. And so the things that makes politics something that is never permanent is as long as we keep on working to move forward, to make progress, then the rollbacks, the backlash that we see right now won't be permanent either. But we have to continue to do work, to be out, to engage in our community, in our communities in a myriad of ways. And as long as we do that, we will be able to continue to make progress. And we have to have both hope and action.
What about for you, Senator?
You know, I met Laurie when she was working on the board of Hands Off Washington, which brought an initiative to try to prohibit discrimination in employment for LGBTQ people. And in 1997, that initiative lost 60 to 40 in our state, and lost every county except for San Juan, lost even in King County. And, you know, a mere 9 years later, we were there for the celebration when the anti-discrimination law was signed into law. That same year, I was a lawyer working on the marriage equality case, and we lost that case in the state Supreme Court. And just despaired because they essentially said we had no protection for our marriages. And 6 years later, the voters of our state became the first voters in the country to uphold marriage equality. So you think about that arc over 15 years from 60-40 voters voting against job discrimination protections to 15 years later, voters voting in favor of marriage equality. You know, we've been through setbacks and troubles before, and as the Speaker says, with persistence, there's no reason that we can't come out of this even stronger.
Since you brought up that issue, I know that there's been some efforts in some state legislatures elsewhere to try to get the marriage equality ruling overturned in some capacity. Are you worried about that happening, and is there a role that maybe Washington State can play in trying to prevent that from happening?
Yeah, well, I think that the leadership that we exercised in bringing marriage equality to the nation is the same kind of leadership we should exercise, you know, now. Certainly they'll try to attack in the courts. The good thing in Washington is that our voters here in this state, our neighbors, our friends, our co-workers have said they want marriage equality, so it will stay here in Washington no matter what the other Washington and the other Supreme Court does. But that said, we certainly can't have different laws around marriage in every state in the country. So we've got to continue to work with our friends across the country to make sure that that doesn't happen. The reason that we got marriage equality is because we worked to be real with our neighbors and our family members, and we have to continue doing that, and we have to continue being smart and persistent in our work.
Just like everybody else.
Yeah.
I know it was a short experience, but I appreciate you both for coming in this morning, and congratulations on the example that you both are setting with this milestone that was reached here in Washington State, certainly putting us on the map across the country.
Thanks.
Thanks for your time. Yeah, back to you, Tyra.
Thanks for that, Steve. Certainly making history here in Washington.